Hello, I'm Dave Abrams.
And I'm Kristin Lagana. Welcome to Arundel County Week in Review. In this episode, we'll meet a new Constituent Service officer and talk to an expert on being prepared in an emergency. But first, making headlines this week. We begin with lots of news on the effort to fight heroin abuse. This week, the Annapolis Police Department completed an undercover operation that busted 25 people for drug trafficking. Police also seized 6 handguns, about $8,500 in cash, and about an ounce of heroin. The announcement came on the same day that Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford announced a $2 million initiative to combat heroin at the state level. That funding will pay for additional treatment, a pilot program where recovering addicts mentor users, and expanded use of the overdose reversing drug naloxone. The developments are all related to a county initiative started by County Executive Steve Shue when he declared a public health emergency back in January. Part of that effort includes more sharing of intelligence between the county and the city of Annapolis. Police Chief Tim Altomari described the new efforts recently on our show, Roundtable.
What we've done is, for the first time in history, we have an intra-county heroin investigative task force. So I have 2 county detectives, an Annapolis city detective, and this is pretty cool. For the first time ever, a detective from the sheriff's office who actually has a drug detection canine assigned to them. And their job is to go after the heroin dealers from the city line up in the north end of the county down to Annapolis and all the way down south to the Calvert County line and all the borders in between. So if they come across a marijuana distribution case, they'll hand that off. If they come across a cocaine distribution case, they'll hand it off. And they really are focusing solely on the opioids.
So 8 months into this effort to focus on heroin, it looks like some progress is being made, Dave.
Absolutely. It's hard to believe that it's been that short period of time because there's been so much focus put on this issue, and rightfully so, but
it's nice to see that it's garnered so much attention it's now at the state level. Absolutely.
And by the way, we have a lot of resources that we've produced in the last couple months that people can go to if they know someone who's in trouble or they want to figure out how to deal with the problem. We have the Roundtable show, which you just saw a clip of, has some really interesting information and great guests. We had our Heroin Town Hall meeting, which while we were planning it, we had no expectation that it would have such a huge turnout. I mean, it was like 400 people, and that's really useful to go back and watch that. And of course, over the course of planning for that, we met Russell Reel, who's a young man who is in recovery right now. He's at Gaudenzia right now, and was willing to do an interview with us, an extended interview. It's called Dope Hole. You can find that on our YouTube page, which you search Arundel TV.
Arundel TV.
And you can find it all there. So there's a lot of attention on it, and that's the first step.
And it needs to be, because I think there's so many folks out there that this is the first time they're paying attention to it. It's bringing the light to their eyes about what a problem it is in our county, and folks had no clue before.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's had this stigma for so many years. You know, in the 70s, people thought it was only in the inner cities, and it only happened to those people or certain people. And now we're realizing that because of prescription drugs, that it's become a problem for everyone, that everyone has to deal with. And I think people are starting to realize that. So the awareness part is working. People are aware of it now, and that's the first step. And now we have to get into the hard work of really figuring out how to deploy resources to help people and stop it from happening in the first place. Well, Kristin, I have to apologize to our viewers that they have to look at my mug each week on this show. But it's for a good cause. Our friend Chris Casey has left county government to pursue his education. Chris starts at the University of Maryland this fall, and he will major in, of all things, communications.
And he'll be great.
And I can't imagine where he got the idea to study communications. But we want to thank Chris for all of his great work for the Office of Constituent Services and for hosting this show. Now, you may remember, Kristin, that Chris came here with no experience hosting a TV show, and he did a great job.
Didn't we all come here?
Yeah, we all did at one time come here with no, yes, and look at us now. We wish Chris the best of luck at my alma mater, the University of Maryland, and go Terps, go Chris. And there's no doubt that Chris will go on to do great things.
Yes,
what are some of your Chris Chris Casey remembrances.
Well, I just, like you mentioned before, of course, we all came here with no experience, but Chris especially, it was funny those first weeks, and then watching him really blossom on the show, getting the hang of doing banter back and forth with me, of interviewing with the guests. But
I think your reaction at first was, who's this kid?
Who's this kid? He was so young, but what a charmer and what a mature student he'll be at University of Maryland.
Yeah.
He just really loved working with the county and working with Steve Shue, and I think he'll do great things. But I'll remember his love for the water.
Absolutely.
His love for food, especially the burrito.
Yes. We never got to have the taste test.
No, we didn't, but we'll do it one day in his honor. But I hope he'll stop by and visit, because really got used to seeing him around, and he's a great guy. So we'll miss you, Chris.
I think no doubt we'll be seeing him around, and
Sure.
of course he lives in my neck of the woods, so I plan to see him early and often. So we wish him the best of luck.
Go do great things.
So while we're here working hard, Kristin,
Yes.
Chris will be screaming at football and basketball games, going to quad parties.
Oh.
You know, not a terrible
I
deal.
miss all that. Can we go back?
I really don't want to, actually.
No?
No. Sounds good until you actually. Anyway, later in the show, we'll introduce you to Pat Daly, the newest addition to Constituent Services.
All right. Well, if you love getting out on the water, just like Chris Casey does, we have great news for you. County Executive Steve Shue has unveiled an ambitious plan to locate public water access points on the north and south shores of every river in the county. Shue joined Recreation and Parks Director Rick Anthony on a kayak tour of the Road River last week to tour access points at Carr's Wharf and Beverly Triton Beach in Edgewater. Here's what Shue had to say about his plan.
Anne Arundel County has 14,000, I believe, trailered boats and more registered boats than any other jurisdiction in the entire state, and yet we have exactly one county-owned boat ramp, boat launch for trailered boats. Rick, how many kayak and canoe launches do we have?
Around 17.
So we have 17 canoe and kayak launches, and we're working to expand that network too, but only one trailered boat ramp. Our goal is to ultimately build out a boat ramp on the north and south shore of every river in this county so that every citizen has easy access to the water and can enjoy the beautiful Chesapeake Bay and the majestic tributaries that wind their ways all through Anne Arundel County.
The county is in the process of identifying locations and building out this plan. The year's budget includes money for parking to support a new boat ramp under construction at Fort Smallwood Park and planning money for new locations as well as a new regional park in South County. So get your kayak ready, Dave.
I don't have a kayak, but I'm going to get my kayak ready, and I'm very excited about Fort Smallwood Park. What about? I don't remember you ever mentioning much water activities for you. Are you a boat person?
More leisure person out on the water. I enjoy someone else
pool
taking
doesn't
the reins.
count.
Okay, the pool doesn't count.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
No, I ride
waterways.
boats. I don't really
Ride boats.
paddle, or I should probably try it. I know it's great exercise. So, and I saw the pictures on the Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Just Arundel TV's pages as well as Anne Arundel County's pages.
Right.
And it looks like it was a really good time. I
It
wish
was.
I'd been out there with Mr. Shue and Mr. Anthony.
It was really nice, and I should mention that the county executive was leading the armada of kayaks the entire time. You know
talented.
me. You know me. I got tired.
Right,
I was
well.
tired after like 15 minutes, and I'm looking down, and they're way off in the distance. They keep stopping for us and stuff.
I
but-
want to say, though, we had my family reunion at Quiet Waters last year, and we tried kayaking for the first time, and we were horrible. This is my sister and I. It's really something that
How
you have to-
horrible were you?
Oh, I think it was just because we were going against each other and just turning in a great big circle.
Were you like bumping your kayaks and everything?
We were in the same kayak, and I think that we were just not in sync.
Was
and
it
we
rifle? Oh, you were in the same kayak.
Yeah.
Oh, so it requires coordination.
Yeah, and we just didn't have it. So it's
Are
an
you
art.
like yin and yang sisters? Or are you like opposites on
We're
things?
like
or?
Elsa and Anna from Frozen. We're just the best of friends.
Oh, I feel a song coming on.
Let it go.
So are you saying that you and your sister work together well, or you don't?
We do work together well. I think we were just trying to both get
not
the
on
hang
that
of
day.
kayak. Not that day. We
Not
were
that
not.
day.
We were not. working well together. But I do want to go back out and give it another try. I think it's just, I respect people that go out and race and do all that. I am not at that skill level right now.
Yeah, you need to work on that.
Perhaps Mr. Shu could give us a 101 and we could go out and really start learning how to kayak.
At this point, it might have to be next summer now.
Oh.
But maybe we can go out from Fort Smallwood.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That would be awesome.
I'm very excited for that. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll talk with Office of Emergency Management Director Michael O'Connell. Take a look at our community calendar for events around town, and don't go away, we'll be right back.
When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
Welcome back. Joining us on the show this week, we have Mike O'Connell, Director of the County's Office of Emergency Management. Mr. O'Connell, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Can you tell us a bit about what the roles are for the Office of Emergency Management and specifically what you do as Director?
Yeah. Emergency Management is a coordination center for assets either within the county between agencies, or if we are expending our resources or do not have that particular resource, that we can reach out to the state or the federal government for those resources for it. So again, we act as an interagency coordination site that involves all the county agencies that sit together in the EOC, and we have various levels of staffing depending on the emergency. If it's particular to one type, let's say transportation or utilities, Public Works is the lead agency.
Right.
If pandemics come back again, we'll look at health being the lead agency. We're anticipating on the Eastern Shore possible bird flu this fall, like we're seeing out in the Pacific Northwest. So Health and State Department of Agriculture will be our lead agencies in that. So it's not an exciting job a lot, despite what the movies might show.
It has its moments, though. I mean, I've had the opportunity to be in the EOC when it's been activated several times.
Yes, we did live reporting here.
We actually did. Yeah, we did Snowmageddon.
Yes.
Or was it Snowmageddon or was it the tornado? Was it the hurricane?
We did the hurricane.
Yeah, we were on the air for hours at a time for that. That was fun. But it's very effective. It's an effective way for people to communicate and work together, and everyone's not out on the roads trying to get around. But we talked a little bit off camera. Tell our audience about, there's emergency operations is a nationwide discipline, but there are some things that are specific to our area. What would some of those things be?
All emergencies are local, and that's a standard phrase that comes out of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and is reinforced by the State Emergency Management Agency, MEMA. They look at themselves as supporting agencies to us in the front lines as the local emergency management organization for the county. There are some hazards that are particular to us. We've ranked them in 2012, and 5 years prior to that we did our first initial hazard mitigation plan. It's available on our website if anybody has an interest in it. So in about another 3 years or so we'll go back and revisit it and see if our original assumptions were correct and whether we have to adjust it. If you look at the original one, earthquakes weren't really high on the list. Well, now we have that as an issue.
We were just talking about that, yes.
It's finally made the list. It's not super high, but it's made the new list for that. We look at flooding, both coastal and riverine.
Absolutely.
Coming up. Dam failures, believe it or not, we don't have many big ones, but we've got a lot of small ones that can create local problems.
So is flooding number one?
Actually, it is.
Okay.
We look at riverine flooding, and this is not only from this county, but we've got the reservoirs in Howard When they fill, they open up, and we've got to run it down to Patuxent, which puts an effect on us.
Right.
Not to also mention if we also have a rapid rainfall here, such as we had with the derecho, we could have compounding issues. Coastal flooding, we see that with some lunar effects. Last 2 weeks ago, we had an unusually high tide by 2.5 foot, simply because of the alignment of the moon. Add that, if we go back to Isabel, if anybody remembers that, it wasn't a hurricane, it was a tropical storm, and actually it wasn't even that when it hit us, it was a depression.
Right.
We had massive coastal flooding, followed later by inland flooding as the water came from the mountains down to us. So that's important dam failure. Hurricanes, tropical storms, and depression. We get those quite frequently. We've already had 2 named storms. Danny is dispersed now into thunderstorms. We have Erica coming up. Probably be a type 1 hurricane. Right now it looks like it's aiming for Florida. If it follows a normal sweep, you know, a week, 2 weeks from now we may get some rain out of it. It doesn't really appear to be a significant threat to us at this point in time. But we're not seeing much activity in the Atlantic Basin this year because of the El Nino in the Pacific. That is affecting the weather, particularly on the coast, but also us. By now we should have probably 5 or 6 named storms, and we don't. We've had 2 for it. If you look out in the Pacific Basin, though, they've had a tremendous amount of typhoons and massive typhoons. That's going to affect us this winter, which is also on our hazard list.
Oh, yes,
so wait, we have typhoons?
2015-16
predictions. Typhoon is the hurricane name in the Pacific for it. So they're having their hurricanes complements of El Nino where we're not.
I have a really important question. Is it okay to have hurricane parties as long as you're inside?
No, the last time we did that, and that was during Isabel, a lot of people lost their cars. And we had to go get them after we told them we weren't going to come get them.
Right.
If they didn't leave when we told them.
Stay home.
Yeah, so we got some had to live on their upper floors until the water receded.
Dave.
I try to ask the real gripping questions.
I know what you're thinking out there. But.
Yeah, it's very hard to get an order for evacuation. The governor can do it, the county executive can do it with the concurrence of the governor, but we don't see that often. And some people just don't want to leave because they don't believe they're going to see a storm.
Right.
Down in
Katrina, a lot of people.
Yeah, I was down in Katrina for 17 days with the Maryland Task Force that we sent down. And what we told people there that wouldn't get out is write your name and the last 4 of your Social Security number on your arm with a waterproof Sharpie so we can identify the body.
Wow.
People don't realize that it can get really bad really quick.
Yeah.
And rescue forces are not necessarily going to come get you if we've given you the option to get out. There's a risk-benefit to our public safety people.
Sure, and as going back to what we were saying is there's some events that are more common here in Anne Arundel County. What are some great practices you can give folks to prepare with for home here in Anne Arundel County so that they are ready for these sorts of events?
Luckily, there's a lot of commonality in all the disasters for home preparation. And it can go from fire preparation to having your house damaged by high winds or tornadoes or things of that nature. And the first thing is to have a plan. And in that plan, there's a couple components to it. One, you want to have a good communications plan, because one thing happens when an area is damaged is everybody gets on their cell phone, you can't get communications in and out, everybody's trying to call each other. Is once that you've collected your family, and we'll talk about that in a second, a rally point, that you have one person designated who is going to call somebody outside the area. And that person's designated for your friends, et cetera, to call them.
Okay.
Because their area isn't saturated with phone usage.
Okay.
It's something just as simple that people don't think about. Your evacuation plan out of the house, how would you do that? If you evacuate, where are you going to meet? Because you may have to go out through different doors for it. Once you've met, where are you going? Are you going to stay with friends? Do you have a plan for that? Are you going to depend on the county to provide shelter for you? And by the way, we don't have luxurious shelters. So it's very important. It's a high school floor, it's a cot, and that's about it for it. Other things that we can look at is in preparation. Do you have a NOAA weather radio? It's like $30. You can program it for messages just for this county or the county next to it, since most of the weather comes from west to east. So I program mine for Howard and here, so I can get 15, 20-minute notice of
That's smart.
if a hurricane comes in, and it alarms. Just like every Wednesday at noon, it's going to go off as a test. So you have to tolerate that.
Right.
But we have one of those in our office, just in case. When it goes off for a storm warning, instantaneously, you'll get it before the news media does.
And
something to look at.
Hopefully tomorrow we will have good weather for, I'm sorry, it's not tomorrow, it's a week from tomorrow, the day of service,
yes.
which we understand you'll be a keynote speaker,
yes, sir.
and the Emergency Operations Expo. Could you tell us about those two events?
Hey, the busy Saturday.
Oh, yes. The Volunteer Mobilization Center annually on or about 9/11 works on a community volunteer project and tries to motivate the community for service. And this year they're going to be working around the Jonas Green Park area trying to restore the wetlands and things of that nature. They were looking for somebody with military experience as well as public safety experience. And I retired out as Command Sergeant Major, so I had that block checked, and I'm a Division Chief of the County Fire Department. So we're going to look at preparing...
Another career public servant on the show there,
yes.
Kristin.
Yes.
So we're going to look at the title of my talking. By the way, it will be short. I've been told that. It's going to be volunteerism and preparedness.
Okay. And then later that day?
As soon as I get done from that, I get out of my dress suit and get into more comfortable clothes to work our preparedness fair, where we've invited state, federal, and local, as well as the city of Annapolis, entities to participate. We'll have the fire department there showing some of their equipment, county law enforcement, sheriff's department. We're going to have state agencies there, such as the Maryland Insurance Commission, to give out information about what you should do for planning for insurance purposes in case we do have a disaster, and what could be covered or not covered.
The recycling division will be there.
They will be there.
We heard that there will be pencils
and water bottles, which are very important to have in your emergency bag.
And OEM is giving rulers out, so don't buy them if you need them for school.
There you go, school supplies too. And of course, you get a free preparedness kit, right?
We give you information on the free preparedness kit, and we give you items. It will not be a complete kit, which is something else people need to think about when they look at their plan. The kit has to be appropriate not only to you, but to your pets. We seem to forget that.
Okay.
Of our two main county shelters, which are high schools, one of them is designated as pet friendly. But you do have to bring your pet food and your information that your pet is.
Some of the common items that are in there, but
also some of the uncommon items, like do you have a 5 to 7 day stock of medicine for it? If you have a child that has special formula, do you have that on hand? Because if it's a true stressing of the system, we may have even difficulty getting some of that for it. People forget the common things. Do you have money? When the power goes out, the ATMs are gone, and so are your credit cards. When I went to Katrina, I was the only one of the team that brought down small bills. So I was the finance officer for 5 days.
Military training.
Until the state came down with the finance officer. It's the little things that trip you up.
Wow.
Oh, I've got all these cans. You got a can opener that doesn't work on batteries or doesn't work on electricity. The old military P38 can opener works perfectly fine if you have one.
You have to think of what you won't have and make sure that you pack accordingly.
And figure what you need. Not what you want, but what you actually need. If you look at all our sites that FEMA and Red Cross put out, they always say have 3 days. Looking at Snowmageddon and some of the other ones, we go back to 2005 when I was here. We were in operation for 13 continuous days, dealing with issues to the community due to the snow, ice, snowstorm. We didn't get some people to 7 days. So it's not uncommon that you should be thinking now about 7 to 14 days.
Oh my gosh.
Particularly if you're at the end of the power grid.
Right, right. Now, the Preparedness Expo, is this information on the OEM site?
Yeah, it's on our OEM site.
And
it's
other
in libraries.
resources.
It's up on our Facebook page. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be on Marley Station Mall's Bravo or B parking lot, which is front right if you're looking at it from Route 2.
Yes.
You shouldn't be able to miss it. We even have the police helicopter there. If you need a GPS, it's 7900 Ritchie Highway.
Oh, I'm excited the helicopter's gonna be there. Great, and if folks want to get that website for more information, more resources, what is that website?
I didn't bring that.
Oh, no, okay.
But just Google Anne Arundel County OEM.
Yes, Anne Arundel County
and
OEM.
it'll pop it right to their homepage.
Or search for it on Facebook. You all have a very good Facebook page as well.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. This is information everyone needs, and it's never going to get old. So you should always be prepared, always be ready. And we thank you for your service and to the county as well.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yes. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Week in Review right after this.
Get your ass. You're not sitting here. Yes, I am. Give it to him hard. No.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Why you stabbing me with it? No.
They want to help,
Ow.
but don't know how.
Oh,
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Welcome back. We mentioned that a new face is joining our Constituent Services office. Michelle Corkadel caught up with Pat Daly in Annapolis to introduce him to you. Michelle?
Thank you, Kristin and Dave. I have the pleasure of speaking to Pat Daly, who is our newest Constituent Service Officer, joining us starting this week. Thank you so much for joining me, Pat. It's a pleasure to be able to say that you are going to be one of my co-workers.
I'm excited to be part of the team, Michelle. Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, Pat is going to be covering a very diverse area of Anne Arundel County for us, starting in Annapolis and working all the way up through Brooklyn Park, including areas such as Jessup, the Severn area, Severna Park, Millersville, Crownsville, and of course the city of Annapolis that we're sitting here today. So why don't you tell us, Pat, what led you to Constituent Services?
Well, I've always wanted to help people. It's always been a passion of mine. I did a lot of service in college, and in 2004 I started working for Governor Ehrlich, and then went to work for then Senator and then Congressman Andy Harris, and served as his district director in Congress, helping many constituents right here in Anne Arundel County. So I hope to continue my history, my record of public service by, going to where the rubber meets the road here in Anne Arundel County. I'm excited. I've worked here in Anne Arundel County for a very long time. I've lived here for a very long time, and I'm excited to get work for the constituents of Anne Arundel County.
Well, Pat, I've known you for a couple years, and I can tell you I am really excited about working with you. And I know that the residents of those areas are going to greatly appreciate your hard work, effort, and dedication to their communities. Welcome aboard, Pat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Back to you, Kristin.
Thanks, Michelle, and welcome aboard, Pat. We're glad to have you here. If you live in Pat's coverage area and you need to reach him, call 410-222-1821.
I think people are going to like working with Pat.
You've met him.
I've known him for a while, actually.
Okay.
I've known him for quite a while. Actually, at the time, he worked for the governor's office, and I was a reporter covering the State House. So we ran into each other quite a bit. He's a really nice guy, and he knows South County, and he knows the area. So he knows how to get things done and how to navigate the government. So I think he'll be a great fit in there.
It's a very important role. I mean, you are really the direct communication point between county government and our constituents. So you are dealing with a lot of requests, sometimes some problems, and you got to be making sure that you're just providing quality service all the time.
Yep. Good luck to Pat on that one.
Yeah,
but I wanted to talk to you about, maybe we'll have to commiserate here, but
commiserate?
Well, you know a lot more about baseball than I do.
I wouldn't say that.
No, you really do. But I went to the Nationals game on Tuesday.
Okay.
And luckily they were playing the Padres, who, I mean, gosh, I feel sorry for those people, the Padres fans. I mean, anyway, so it was a great game. We had a great time. They won 8-2. There was a grand slam, about the 6th inning grand slam by Zimmerman to put the game away. And I was trying to get caught up on where everybody is, and I realized the Nationals and the Orioles are both pretty much in the same boat. They're mathematically, they have a chance, but do we really feel like they're going to get the job done?
It's a disappointing performance from both teams this summer. I don't
What's
think
wrong
that
with the
there's any
Orioles?
happy Orioles fans or happy Nats fans right now.
Is it because you didn't go to enough games this year, or what happened?
Oh yes, I am the good luck charm for the Baltimore Orioles. No.
Are you? I mean, usually when they're doing well, you've gone to several games, and this year I don't think
I was at enough. No, I mean there's been some errors. There's a lot of folks that have been pointing some fingers at some specific players that are still relatively new to the team, that are still feeling out some growing pains, and then there's some common mistakes that we've seen over the past few years, where it's like they're golfing out there, they're throwing low, and our guys are swinging at it, and it's just watch the pitching better, be ready for, you can get some walks in and score that way.
Absolutely.
You don't always
it's so
have to
frustrating.
try and be the guy to hit.
Why you always gotta? They have a term for that in basketball, which is hero ball.
Hero ball.
Don't play hero ball. Play within
ball.
the system, and you'll do better.
Right.
But and I think another thing they have in common is these upstart teams are standing in the way. I mean, the Orioles, if I'm not mistaken, you got the Blue Jays, right?
Oh, Toronto, yes.
Right, Toronto Blue Jays, and the Nats are dealing with the Mets of all teams.
Right, the Mets are really great this
really
year.
good.
Yeah.
And I think the Nats have a series coming up, I think 2 home-and-homes with the Mets. So theoretically, if they won a bunch of those games, they could make up ground. But
Yeah, I was out at a couple of games during the Minnesota Twins series, and it was really disappointing. And I'm hoping that this is just a slump, and it'll be over very soon. It needs to be over very soon. But yeah, it's just an off summer right now with baseball. We've watched the Orioles really hit it out of the park, no pun intended, over the last couple summers, and this year it's just been a bit of a disappointing
this time last year we were talking about a Beltway series, maybe.
I'm still an O's fan, don't get me wrong.
All right.
Stand by my team.
And I'm still a Nats fan.
All right.
But I'm a little
Very good.
disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm actually a lot disappointed.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do when the playoffs are going on? Are we just going to boycott, or how are we going to deal with
I mean, I still love watching baseball.
So you're still
probably watch the playoffs.
Oh, because when we talked off camera, you implied
I am
that you
angry. I am fiery redhead.
So you're going to be like a Giants fan or something, or
we'll see. We'll
who are
see
you
what's
root
going
for?
on.
You don't know?
I will probably stick within my own division, honestly.
Okay.
So
that's one way of doing it. So you're going to root for the Yankees.
Oh.
Oh, wow. Oh.
I didn't say it good enough. We'll see how this plays out.
How about the Ravens? You ready for the Ravens?
Well, there you go again, because we were talking about, and I know everyone says preseason doesn't matter, but we're not seeing the most exciting performance right now from the Ravens.
See, again, we're on opposite poles of the spectrum here.
Right.
You're a Ravens fan. I'm a Redskins fan. Yes, I admit it. I'm a Redskins fan. And there's no hope for me this year.
Well, it's very interesting considering where you live, because you're much closer to Baltimore.
That's right, but I grew up in the D.C. area.
And that would explain why, but I'm more of a Baltimore girl.
I grew up in the glory days, which every Ravens fan will be more than happy to remind me of. That was, I'm not going to say how many years ago. It was several years ago when the glory days for the Redskins. And
now, do you like going to the Skins games?
I do, but I think, again, the older I get, the whole like going to, you know what? I prefer going to a Ravens game in person than going to a Redskins game in person, because just the whole thing about getting to the stadium is not very ideal for the Redskins, and for the Ravens it's not bad. You're pretty in and out there, and it's pretty relaxed. So, and I like the stadium.
I asked because we were talking about it the other day about going to baseball games versus going to football games.
Yeah.
And I love going to baseball games. I think
Camden
Yards is gorgeous.
It's a way better experience.
Yes.
If I go to a football game, I miss half of what's happening.
Right.
At a baseball game, I don't really feel like I'm missing anything. I can follow everything that's going on in person. Whereas football, you lose a little bit from. And I love my big TV.
It's also just way more expensive.
Yeah.
And I love Camden Yards. I think that they've really done a lot with improving the ballpark, making it more comfortable. A lot of great food options now. Can't say the same for over at M&T. You can't.
Guess how much it was to park for the Nats game?
How much?
$40.
That's insane.
$40.
Plus you got to pay for the ticket to go watch. I don't know. So I do prefer having Sunday. We don't usually do anything on Thursday nights or Monday nights, but Sunday night parties with crock pots and friends, and everybody brings something, a little potluck. I love hosting it.
It'll be nice to have football back.
It'll be nice to have football. I like hosting it at my own house, though. I don't like going to the stadium.
And if the Redskins and Ravens are both bad, we can get into the high school football, the Seahawks.
Yeah.
The Patriots.
That's right.
Right?
We can do that. And of course we can go visit Chris.
That's right. Maybe Chris can get us some good tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that. We need to talk to Chris.
Absolutely.
So Chris, if you're watching, call me, buddy. Call
us.
That wraps up this week's edition of Week in Review. You can watch this episode and archive episodes online anytime on Facebook, YouTube, or Google Plus by searching Arundel TV. Please tune in again next week for more highlights and news from around the county, and we'll see you next time.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Find fun activities to do, like boating and biking, or camping and hiking, plus much more. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.